Hello everybody. So my viewers know me well by now. I titled this video ATM Nirvana. That was a comment on my former video saying I should be happy about today's announcement. And yes, it is ATM Nirvana. Yes, it is pure joy. I'm very happy about today. The simplest solution is the way. The ATM is the simplest solution. MSTR was way up. Time to harvest the price to NAV, and that's what Sailor did. I'm very happy about it. The stock is up 2%, and maybe a little less than that right now. It was down 6% on Friday because he was likely doing quite a bit of ATM on Friday. I was very pleased to see that because that is a huge buy indeed. 739 million is a huge buy. Sailor wants to move the needle, even with a $70 billion bag of Bitcoin. 700 million, right? That's 1% a week, 1% a week. That's 52% a year. To move the needle, you have to go big. And how do you go big today? You do the ATM. We are in the era of the ATM. Let me put this a different way for you, or with a different perspective. Right. So the ATM right now. So what did you do? Mostly ATM, like 99% ATMs. Out of proceeds of 740 million, 736 million were from the ATM. So 99% ATM. He did 736 million of ATM. The price to NAV on the ATM right now is a 1.68. You harvest the 6.8. You sell $1 for $1.68. Watch my common ATM 101 video that I link into every single MSTR video. Go watch that 5-minute video where I walk you through the math as to how this works. Anyways, I did the math for you. That's a $795 million BTC gain. Out of that ATM of 736 million, 297 was the BTC gain. $297 million was the BTC gain. He harvested the 0.68. That is the power of the common ATM. And this is how I think Sailor views the ATM based on all of his interviews, which I listened to all of them. And we've had a flurry of them in the past few days. I can think of 4 brand new interviews that I listened to. This is how I think he thinks. The par of the preferred, Strike preferred, Strive preferred, and Stride preferred, the par is always 100. So you're issuing $100 worth of debt, that's the notional value, and you're issuing that $100 for $118. So your price to par, which is, I believe, very equivalent to the price to NAV for a common stock. The price to par is very equivalent. The price to par on the Strike ATM is 118. The price to par on the Strive ATM is 119. And the price to par on the Stride ATM is awful. It's a 0.93. The way I view this, and I think that's the way Sailor is going to view it, is that selling $1 worth of debt for 0.93 is not very appealing, and selling a dollar worth of debt for 0.18 is also not very appealing, considering that Strike and Strive are very high in the capital structure. I could see a scenario where the Strike and Strive prefer to trade at a 1.6 to a 1.7. I could see a scenario where this is also sustained at a 1.6, 1.7, and I could see a scenario where the Stride ATM, which is the lowest in the capital structure, this is the riskiest one, I could see a scenario where even this trades at a 1.2, 1.3 as interest rates drop. And so what is he doing? What is he seeing? You know, you have to imagine that Sailor is studying the Fed very closely. You know, he's got access to the son of the president of the United States, took picture with him and everything. He has to know what's going on. Maybe something's going to happen to the interest rates. I don't know. I don't need to know, because once you understand the ATM NAV, the ATM math and the ATM price to NAV and how it works, once you understand that we are still in that era. Yes, I've said multiple times before, we will be moving to the preferred ATM era. I think we're towards the end of the common ATM era. But I don't really know. We may have 1 year left where he still goes very hard on the ATM. And when you understand the math, that is just pure joy. That is just happiness. So anyways, when you start looking at these valuation metrics for the Bitcoin Treasury Company, it's clear that the ATM is the most accretive things for most of them to do. This is true for MetaPlanet. This is true for the Smarter Web Company. They all do the ATM. It's the most accretive thing to do, and it's also the simplest solution. It only relies on TradFi. This solution is one that only relies on TradFi in order to earn a Bitcoin yield. You only rely on TradFi. So the simplest solution, according to Occam's razor, one of the hallmark tenets of logic, is that you should do the simplest solution. The simplest solution is the way. It's the pick. It's the most logical thing to do. The simple thing, And there will be a time when Strife, and Stride, take over, but not right now. Not today. I don't think this is today. Saylor is not trying to let the price of MicroStrategy stock run. It's not trying to let the price run. He doesn't want the price to run. He wants to use the ATM to accumulate more Bitcoin. He's playing the long game. The long game is what Saylor is playing. And as he said before, and I'm sure he will say that again in the upcoming call, he's not trying to optimize the value of short-term dated call options. He's not trying to maximize that value. He's trying to maximize the value for the common shareholder. And of course, the common shareholder have a call option on future cash flows of the company forever, right? He's trying to maximize the value for the common shareholder, not for the short-term dated options buyer. And of course, being an options buyer, if he keeps ATMing for years and years and years, that might not be a good game to play. Even buying, long-dated call options right now, even buying leaps right now on MSTR might not be the long game to play, because what if he keeps ATMing every single week until 2027? Well, in that case, only people who plan to hold this stock well beyond 2030 are winners. And of course, I think a lot of viewers of my channel, and myself, I hold stocks forever. So it's like to me, the common is still the best game in town for this stock. One scenario where if he keeps ATMing, which it seems like it's what it's going to do, one scenario that actually could be good for options trader, because the stock could stay in a range. But as you know, I much prefer, if I were to do an option strategy, I would think writing puts in the 300s, the mid 300s, perhaps the high 300s. I would think writing puts would be a better way to earn a premium. You write puts on that collateral that is created by owning the MSTR common. I would think that would be a better way than writing calls, because if you write calls, and by the way, this is the MSTY strategy, so if you write calls, the problem is that he can't know when he's going to decide to let the stock run. Saylor is the master of the game. He decides when the stock runs. The day he stops the ATM is the day the stock runs, and he decides that, and we don't know that. And frankly, hopefully, he decides that sometime in the long distance future, because right now, as he would say, he can still acquire a Bitcoin for 0.118 million a coin. Can you believe that? He can acquire a Bitcoin for less than $1 million right now. That is dirt cheap. Can you believe that? And that's how he thinks. I know it's how he thinks. And I think that's how we will all think in the 2030s. So as the pressure and narratives against Bitcoin treasury companies and Bitcoin start to mount, I was watching a few trending posts this morning about how Solana treasury companies are able to earn a yield natively on Sol via staking. Ethereum treasury companies are able to earn a yield natively on ETH via staking. And of course, a lot of these ETH companies are actually trying to get into DeFi and yield farming, and they start, listing pairs of tokens, and you can buy that over token on that layer 2, and you can earn an outsized yield by staking a pair of ETH, and that random token who just happens to be paying nicely if you create a liquidity provider token. That's DeFi for you, right? And the point is, DeFi is great, but it is not mature. It is not mature. There's a lot of issues with DeFi, rug pulls being a big one. right? Impermanent loss being another big one. I firmly believe DeFi is great, and it's gonna be much greater in the 2030s, but it is not mature today. Today, in my view, the phase is to acquire these assets, which you will then be able to tokenize, to restake, to wrap one day in the 2030s when that whole thing is mature. And by the way, when you hear Solana treasury companies or Ethereum treasury companies brag and say, oh, you can't earn a yield natively on Bitcoin, well, that's not entirely true, because you've always been able to wrap the Bitcoin token, and solutions, again, this is a crowdsource idea. One of you in the comment section told me that I thought it was very relevant. Yeah, apparently you can stake natively Bitcoin on Cardano. So staking is going to come to Bitcoin, but it's not going to be mature anytime soon. And that's the very point. MSTR is the blue chip company. It is the highly focused, highly mature company. It's the conservative company. It's the JP Morgan of the Bitcoin treasury companies. It's the one Bitcoin treasury company, which, who knows, if there's ever a problem in the 2040s, perhaps they could bail out the US government. Like, that's how powerful MSTR could become, right? Just like JP Morgan did back in the day, financing the Panama Canal, all that good stuff. So they're always gonna have the simplest solution. They're always going to be Pareto principled. They're always going to focus on the 80% of actions yielding 80% of the results, and they're always going to be the most conservative. And the ATM is tried and true. It's been around for a long time. And I'm sure Saylor at some point will find other ways to earn yield. But that's going to be a conversation for the 2030s. Right now, we are in an acquisition phase. MSTR is playing the long game. I'm playing the long game. This channel is all about the long game. And so this concludes this video. This is why I think this is ATM Nirvana. If you have any doubt about the ATM, go watch my common ATM NAV to understand how this works and how yield is generated via the ATM, the at-the market offering of the common MSTR shares. This was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is just entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me next. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.